So first and foremost, I know we did UL Media Days. If you don't know, now you know. Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, what he just said, Fitz. He has his own thing where he got, vlogging every day till he get an Emmy. And if you saw this episode, you seen him at UL Media Days a couple days ago. UL has a football program that is coming back stronger with a lot of experience on this roster. Defense, I think they're missing two guys. And on offense, they have one guy with Jacob Cabody, the running back. He's not going to be back. But you got a chance to catch up and talk to a lot of these players, and it seemed like the morale was up. I mean, what is your opinion on the UL football coming into this 2024 season?
Yeah, man. First of all, it's always good, getting a chance to meet up with those guys when the season is getting ready to start because morale is always high, confidence is always high. The overall theme of what I heard from them was that we want to win a championship. We asked them what was the expectation. They said we want to win a championship. Every team says that, but it was just a way that they were talking. They talked with so much confidence, and it didn't sound like they were trying to convince themselves. It seemed like they had put the work in over this off season into the spring, and now they truly believe going into this year that they are going to win a championship. Coming off of two back-to-back seasons where they went 6-7, the year before they came into the season and they talked about it being a revenge tour. There was really no elements or what it was going to be. I think they're just trying to come out and prove themselves, man. And I think that with all the experience that this team has coming back, I think these guys are really going to be able to shake up the Sun Belt right now. You look at the quarterback competition, whether it's going to be Chandler Fields or Ben Woolridge, somebody is going to be able to lead that offense. Chandler is more of a gunslinger. Ben seems to be kind of a cerebral guy in the way that he plays. Your running back room is all the way back. I think everyone that played in the New Orleans Bowl on the offensive line, all of those guys are back as well. You got Terrence Carter at tight end. Your receivers with Harvey Broussard, Rob Williams, Jacob Bernard. You got guys there making plays, and then you got a ton of guys back on defense with somebody like Casey Osai that is going to spearhead much of the playmaking that happens over there. But they also have a fresh face over there. Our guy from Manny, Louisiana, Terrence Williams. Elijah, you get to talk with him, man, and just talk to us about, what that conversation was like, especially him moving from running back over to linebacker.
I mean, he has a ton of confidence. Like you said, the morale is always high within the season. But when I talked to him during the spring process, when he was learning, to playing linebacker, he did play in high school, but now this is a collegiate level. Game's much faster. Things are, a little bit more difficult because everybody was that guy in high school, and now they're trying to make their name on the next level. But Williams, he just feels like he's there. He feels like he's ready. He's ready to take that next step. I mean, he did say that he has a fair chance of being the starter next to KC Osai in that defense, and I know that he is confident in his abilities, especially for the way that he was sized up and the way that he was playing offense. He was a running back a year ago, and he knows what this offense is, and he knows what running backs' tendencies are because he was one. So for him to be a linebacker and to be on the opposite side of the ball, he is ready to make sure that he has that start, if he can start this year, ready to take that Cajun linebacker room to the next level along with KC Osai.
And really, what I just love about the linebackers in general, man, is that because this is more of a 3-4 based, sometimes getting into 3-3-5, is that you can get into a three-down lineman set, and that fourth linebacker is almost like an edge pass rusher. So sometimes it looks like a 4-2-5, but it is really a 3-4 in the way that they're playing their scheme. And so you look at the way they're going to be able to bring pressure and run stunts and blitzes and things like that. I also talked to defensive end Jordan Lawson, who was coming off of a knee injury the previous year. And he just talked about how he really believes all of the defensive players that they have coming back is really what's going to help them to be able to be set apart. And as much as I do, like having an experienced team is always what separates you because you know the league better. You know what to expect. You know the tendencies. What it's like to build a game plan. And so it's a lot of things that is able to become a lot easier because you've done it before. You have a level of experience in college football, despite the fact that you have a new defensive coordinator. Jim Salgado comes in, previously worked with the Washington Commanders. So he is familiar with what Louisiana does because, obviously he helped along with getting Andre Jones and Percy Butler onto their roster in the NFL. But being able to come in and implement his own scheme now, Elijah, what do you think he's going to be able to bring to the table after, kind of hearing what the guys are saying and just feeling what his philosophy is going to be like?
Number one is communication. I mean, that's all they kept saying is communication, communication, communication. I mean, he wanted to make sure that he could relay the play call from the front four back to the linebackers, back to the secondary. Everybody's on one accord. I know the Cajuns defense sometimes didn't look like they were on one accord last year in a couple of ball games, especially in the Old Dominion game where it was just a shootout, and sometimes it looked like they didn't even know what they were doing in some points of that game. But they're just big on communication, but also what he feels like they bring is energy. For defensive guys, you all around the board you have to bring energy, but for defensive guys especially, you have to bring that energy because it's going to be effective. Football is a team sport overall, but I feel like on the defensive side is where everybody has to play their role for it to be successful. So bringing the energy and the communication is the top two things that I got when they talked about that new DC coming from DC. So with you, Fitz, I gotta understand. You have a lot of takes. What is your goals with this UL team as they head into this 2024 season?
Ultimately, I think to get this program back in the direction that they were, originally in, is they have to be competitive in their Sunbelt Western Division games. If not flat out win the division, I think the Sunbelt picked them to finish fifth in the conference. Matter of fact, let me pull it up since we got the computers in front of us. So we'll see. Let's see. Sunbelt Conference football. Football teams. Let's go to the website. So we're accurate, We try to be accurate here because we are journalists, you know what I mean?
Great journalism, great journalism.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, normally we always on top of the stuff, man, but we kind of, we lax right now. We in a podcast setting. And of course my internet acting slow, but we cool. Sunbelt announces football preseason awards and polling. And in the Western Division, excuse me, it wasn't fifth. I believe the previous year it was the fifth that they were picked. Louisiana was picked to finish third and behind Texas State, Troy, and then UL. So you have Texas State, Troy, UL, Arkansas State, South Alabama, and then Southern Miss and ULM. So a lot of teams believe that UL can be competitive in the conference. I see it feels like every year, especially last year, that Troy game and that South Alabama game was always the one where they really needed to pull it out in order to come out on top in those Western Division games. But now Texas State, man, like they are no pushover. In years past, it was like that's the Texas State game. They scheduled them for homecoming, I think in 21, and they beat them really bad. That's not the case anymore. They were picked to win the West. So now you have to come in and you have to strap up and you have to go out and beat them. And I believe they have to go to San Marcos coming up this year because Texas State, they have to go to San Marcos because you were at the Texas State game this past season and they were here. So that means they're going to have to go on the road, knock off the team that, in the preseason was picked to finish first in that conference, and they're going to have to answer to that. Troy, they had to go on the road, so they'll be back home. So at home, in front of their fans, at the stadium that is getting built, they're going to have to win those games. So I think, first of all, if they can just win the Western Division, I think that's going to put them in the right direction that they want to go. Now, if they flat out win the Sun Belt Championship, that is awesome, because that then puts them back into their 2021 conversation of, when they were 12-1 with that only loss being to the University of Texas. That now puts them in the conversation that they could potentially be ranked. That puts them in the conversation that if the college football playoffs allows it, they could potentially sneak in there. We don't know because things are so much different now with their 12 team playoff system. We don't really know what it's going to look like. So ultimately what this team has to do to start off is they have to win the Western Division, be competitive in it, and ultimately win it for this season to really be something for them.